that she went through for 15 years. And, as a man, there's no way I can even understand that.
Yeah.
And I think it's an educational challenge, especially in the Catholic Church with the priests.
Yes.
Who, and I've been married for 45 years, so I can understand some of it, but thank you. But, how do they understand this?
I think that they bring
problem.
in people who share their story. And
Hopefully.
I think Abby Johnson, who's a wonderful pro-life advocate,
wow.
Man, she is just a missionary out there.
Yes, she is.
Who broke her ankle yesterday. She's like, I have to go. She's like, I got to go to the March for Life. She said she's going to have one of those wheelie carts in the National March.
Yeah,
To keep her foot up. She's just awesome. And she said something to me that was so inspiring. There was a Cornerstone conference in Western Washington a year and a half ago.
Well, I was there, yeah.
And she said,
yes.
If we don't talk about this from the pulpit, we give the impression that there is sin that is too big for Christ.
Wow.
And until we talk about it, until we let that voice be heard, we continue in our silence to let the message be heard that this is a sin that's too big for God to take away from you.
Right.
And we know as Catholics there is no sin that is too big for the Lord's forgiveness and for His mercy and His love. And so we have to talk about it. Even pastors who are standing on their pulpit and may not understand it have to have these conversations, because we need to tell women, if it's true that 1 in 3 women will have an abortion, look around in your parish at those women who are carrying a burden that must be arduous. And
horrendous,
we need to tell them that it's not too big.
Yes, praise the Lord.
Redemption is there for all of us every time.
And this, as declared by the Pope, is the year of mercy.
The year of mercy. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
It is. It is so beautiful. Noreen, you should actually probably speak to the priest conference in June down at the beach. They get together every year. I'm not kidding. Somebody needs to explain to these fellows that this is a serious issue that needs to be dealt with seriously.
Yes.
They have people that are going to be victims in the future or who are already victims, and they need to be helped.
Yes, absolutely.
And it needs to be stopped.
And that mercy is broad and endless. There is no cap on mercy.
Right.
And so
right.
when people come and they've I know lots of people who've had regrets from standing side by side with a woman who's having an abortion, and they feel like it's something that they can't even talk about. They've gone, they thought they were being supportive, they participated in some way in an abortion, and they don't even know the language that they have available to them to use to talk about their regret, to talk about their pain, to ask for mercy.
Yes,
and the Pope has said in this year of mercy, and he has said many times that the priests want to forgive these kinds of sins.
Yes.
Let's give them the opportunity to do it.
Right.
And women are victims here. I never want
to
say that that these women who are in crisis situations are the bad guys. We have painted a picture that there's no other way out. They think that their only choice. I often joke that my last name is Hobson, and there's a term called a Hobson's choice. And Hobson's choice means that it looks like you have multiple options, but you really only have one.
Well, that's what a great last name.
So I think that we're fighting against a Hobson's choice. We have proclaimed this pro-choice environment, but really the only choice we continue to give people in poverty.
They have no choice.
We say to people in poverty who are pregnant, you can't do this.
Right.
We say to women, you're not strong enough, you can't do this, there's not enough money.
Right.
Are those abortions helping women get out of poverty?
No.
Why did they go back a second, a third, a fourth time for an abortion? We have not solved their poverty problem.
Yes.
So let's solve their problems and not say that your poverty is the reason you have only one choice available.
Right, exactly.
Are we saying that poor people are our problem? No, people are a blessing. They're a resource. They're not a burden. Let's figure out how to make that resource and that blessing carry more forward.
Yeah, and many poor people have arisen to do great things.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can't even name them all if we had all day.
Somebody was talking recently about William Wilberforce, who is
there you go. Yeah.
A great leader who spent his whole life dedicated to seeing slavery overturned in Europe. And what a great example.
Yes.
We say to pray ceaselessly.
Yes.
Pray without ceasing. We don't say to pray tirelessly.
Right.
We all get tired.
Yes.
We're to continue praying and continue working ceaselessly.
Yes.
And William Wilberforce is such a great example. I think he was like the 22nd of 23 children.
Wow.
He grew up in poverty.
Wow, yes.
He changed the world.
Really?
The lives he
and he
saved.
wrote Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
Which alone is huge.
How do we say,
yeah.
I don't care if you're the 5th of 6 kids, the 10th of 10 kids, wherever you come in line.
Yeah.
You have the ability to change the world.
That is so great. That is so great. You know, that's a great example. Wow. Excellent. Yeah, very good. Well, Dennis, are we go ahead. Dennis has a question. Yes.
Not everybody is raised in a pro-life family, but they get their pro-life values from another source like church. Have you ever had a crisis that strengthened your pro-life values, like a friend with mental problems that's had a breakdown, drug addiction, obvious post-abortion problems?
I've heard many of those stories. I mean, I think it's not uncommon, and in fact, we heard testimony in the last legislative session from a young woman. There's currently a bill being heard about parental notification. It's not a parental consent bill, it's a parental notification bill, that if a girl, like a teenage minor, is going for an abortion procedure, her parents have to be alerted that this is happening, which seems like a unbelievably smart, savvy, common sense safety measure. If you can't give a child sunblock in school without parental consent, why could an invasive medical procedure be done without parents even knowing? And a girl gave her testimony about how she went, and her parents were never told, and it spiraled her life out of control.
Wow.
And luckily, through grace, she came back around. But hearing her testimony and hearing how profoundly it affected her was very touching to me. And it was so shocking to me that bill did not get passed. That kind of testimony alone should say to us, we need to stand by these women and find out the best ways to support them in whatever crisis they're in.
I agree. Amen.
Praise the Lord. Yes.
And I actually, I was thinking, again, I think about all this stuff this time of year more than any other time. When I was pregnant with my first child, and I grew up in a Catholic home, and I was married. I've been married for a long time when I was pregnant with my first baby. We had sold almost everything we owned at a garage sale the week before I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
I mean, we were getting ready to move across the country.
Wow.
And I can't, it never crossed my mind for me, but I could see how in that situation, I can absolutely understand how someone would say, I simply can't do this. I don't have a couch to sit on. How am I going to have a baby in the next 9 months? Mm-hmm. We delayed our plans to move, and we bought a cheap couch, and we made it work, and then we moved a year and a half later than we were originally planning to move, and it worked out fantastically. And my daughter is amazing. She's the most loving, gentle, kind, supportive person, and a great big sister. And I think the world is truly better because she's here.
Oh, yes.
And how so many people see their current circumstances so burdensome that they can't see to the other side of it.
Yes.
But pregnancy is a short-term situation.
Yeah.
But people are a long-term solution to those problems.
Yes, praise the Lord. How old is your daughter now?
She's 8.5.
Wow. Perfect.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Since Roe versus Wade became federal law, you see the family degraded. You see it reflected in the culture, like the entertainment industry.
Absolutely.
It is little family values or moral value.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we did the thing in that made it so that life and the value of life was on a sliding scale. The rulings that followed said that viability was what mattered. Location of where this person was is what mattered. How that couldn't trickle down into every other thing in our society, that we say where you are matters, how big you are matters. All these things about that value could be on a sliding scale. What a mess. Life and its value are not on a sliding scale.
Yes.
You can't have one person who's more or less valuable than anyone else. And so we say, because you're an unborn baby, you're not as valuable.
Right.
Well, then when they're born, well, now you're in poverty, so you're less valuable, or you're this, you have disabilities, so you're less valuable. You can't do that, and you see how that has degraded culture and society in every way. Domestic violence was not cured by this. There was this idea that if women could have abortions, they'd have more autonomy, and then they wouldn't be in situations where they're in bad relationships, bad marriages, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't solved the problem of domestic violence. We haven't solved the problem of human trafficking.
Yeah.
It's grown exponentially because we devalued people.
Right. Very good. All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Few times, so I'm sure you guys cannot wait to hear from Mark Milosher, right? Back again, fighting the good fight from the 30th Legislative District. It is Senator Mark Milosher.
I can't thank you all for coming down here today and inspiring us here to fight the good fight for life, for our children, the unborn, the least of our brothers and sisters, the unborn. I used to be in your position. Well, before that, I used to be actually on the other side. I'm a member at St. Vincent's Parish and part of the Federal Way community. Who here is from St. Vincent's? Raise your hand. Call out. But I didn't used to be pro-life. But my brothers and sisters in my faith community and in my neighborhoods worked on me. Worked on me with love in their hearts. With love in their hearts. And I changed through God's grace. I became pro-life and I realized how precious the unborn is to all of us. From conception to natural death. But then I got excited. I wanted to get involved. I wanted to make a difference. And I started coming down here in 1990, organizing the bus trips from St. Vincent's, doing the same thing that would happen to me, talking to my neighbors, to my friends, to my family, trying to get them to see the power of love, the power of the unborn, how precious these little people are. They are people. That's my call to action to you all here today. I was down here for 8 years, standing where you stood, lost 2 elections, finally got elected to fight the fight. Then ended up losing another election, left, now I'm back here to fight the good fight. But I need your help. Will you help us today? Will you help convince your neighbors, the members of your church? Look around, who is not here? Bring them here next year. Thank you all, God bless, I'll see you next year.
We get every other issue wrong. You know, if we get the life issue wrong, we get every other issue wrong. If we get the life issue wrong, we get every other issue wrong. And I think the Supreme Court over there is asleep, so let's wake them up a little bit. Pro-life! 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 Love it. I love it. I think they can hear us now, don't you? I want to say something, and you're going to be shocked at this, but I actually applaud the governor. Ooh, look at that dead silence. Clear pin drop. What's Shay talking about? I applaud the governor because the other day he had people testify in committee that we need to be concerned about the health and safety of unborn children and toxic chemicals. Yeah. I say today we call on the governor to be concerned with a child in the womb in every circumstance, not just toxic chemicals. I also want to admonish all of us, we need to be praying for the mothers that have aborted their children. It's a tragedy in every circumstance, so let's make sure that we pray for them.
Okay, Mr. Shea, if we get the life issue wrong, we get what?
We get every other issue wrong. It's always been that way. And you know, especially the life issue is so emotional. I really believe it's the slavery issue of our time. And I think that's not an understatement, because what you're talking about is the systematic destruction of fellow human beings. And so being pro-life as a starting point, I've found in politics means that you'll get most other issues right. And when I look at other candidates and other folks, that's exactly what I find too.
Do you have any experiences in your past where that kind of really you felt like it strengthened your conviction from some of the negative things that happens to people that get involved in abortions, like suicide rates are higher, mental illness seems to be connected with a lot of abortion?
Yeah, my wife actually worked for a crisis pregnancy center for years, actually, volunteering there and helping out there, and the stories that would come in, both of people that were feeling like they were in a hopeless situation and the only way out was through an abortion, and being able to help those people, you could see that. But on the other side, the folks that had already undergone abortions, they lived with that for the rest of their life, and it was something that they could never fix, they could never change, they could never get past. And
that's for sure.
And they have many services. I hear all the time there's no services to take care of these poor and disenfranchised women, and that's just not true. There are crisis pregnancy centers all over Washington State. They'll help with maternity homes, they'll help with skills and building skills, they'll help with counseling for those that are post-abortive. And that, to me, is how it should be. Neighbor to neighbor, with Christians in the churches helping those folks out. And that's how we're actually not only going to spread love, but spread the message that there's a different alternative than destroying life.
Yeah, there sure is. Do you have a strong Protestant background, or is it more Catholic? Or
well, I was raised Catholic. I gave my life to Christ after I came back from Bosnia.
Praise God.
And it was after, actually, literally, my testimony is I was walking in this field behind some hedgerows. There was a gigantic mass grave that had been discovered, and there were bodies that were laying there, and some UN folks were doing an investigation. And as they continued to do the investigation, and I was looking at all the horror around me that was there, the Lord really hit me right between the eyes that if there is that kind of evil in the world, there has to be the opposite and good. And that started me on my journey to where I eventually accepted Jesus. And one of the very first issues that he dealt with me on was the issue of abortion and the issue of life. We have to get that right. Imago Dei, the image of God. We're all made in the image of God. And therefore, all life has to be precious and treated that way. And that's why I think the Founding Fathers put it first in the Declaration of Independence.
Amen.
The right to life, right there, because they knew that without that, all of the other rights were meaningless. To have a republic, to have freedom, you also have to have that same ability to govern yourself. And the only way to have that is to have that personal saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, as well as having that self-control and discipline that comes with being sanctified according to Christ.
It sounds kind of funny, but I've been told stories by my parents that they used to leave their front door unlocked when they left, or keys in their car, and nobody does that anymore. It has any common sense, because people just aren't as morally upfront as they've been in the past. I'm convinced Roe v. Wade plays a very important role in that.
I think it does, and I hear some more libertarian arguments nowadays, and I don't really believe they're libertarian arguments, because Dr. Ron Paul was very clear that he was pro-life because of what he saw as being a doctor and actually delivering babies. His points, I think, are missed by a lot of people, and specifically you'll see people say, well, no, this is about a choice. This is about a choice. To which I respond, the body inside your body is not your body. What about the choice for that unborn child? And there's no real answer to that. And secondly, there's no answer to, if people are going to decide arbitrarily when constitutional rights attached to every individual, constitutionally protected rights attached to every individual, then that means they can take those same rights away. They have to exist at birth because they are God-given, and they're not given to us by man.
Back in the 80s...
and I shouldn't say birth, I should say conception.
Back in the 80s, there was an argument that if America didn't do a little bit better about trying to reverse Roe versus Wade and pass more legislation to protect the unborn, that gradually this would continue on other segments of humans, like the infirm or the elderly. And what are we seeing today?
Well, history may not repeat itself exactly, but it does certainly rhyme. You look at throughout history, wherever this has happened, where you can kill unborn children, or in some cases you can kill newborn children. Eventually comes the other side of it. Well, people that have lost their value to society, the elderly, the infirmed, they should be killed as well. I mean, it happened recently in Nazi Germany, but more recently even than that in communist China. And so anytime you go down that road of saying that somebody's value is based on their ability to contribute to society from a worldly standard, and not because they are inherently worth something because they are made in the image of God, you end up with what amounts to tyranny. And one of the other interesting parts and the side effects of having abortion since Roe v. Wade in Washington State, since a couple of years before that, is that we've had over 50 million human beings aborted, and we had this huge economic crisis. Would we not be in a different place today if we had 50 million more people productively working in the workforce? I think so. We wouldn't have the Social Security issues we have today. We wouldn't have a lot of issues we have today. So we're just reaping the fruits of what Roe v. Wade has sown.
What gets me is, I dug into the Bible, and I like to use this as a factoid, but the story of Cain and Abel is a story of somebody's unjust taking of a life.